So this is how to find slope with parallel and perpendicular lines. With parallel lines, they're always going to have equal slopes or the same slopes. And with perpendicular lines, you're always going to see the opposite and the reciprocal. What I mean by opposite is that one has to be positive, one has to be negative. And the reciprocal means that this is really 3 over 1. So the reciprocal for 3 is 1 over 3. So an example of a perpendicular line slopes would be 3 and negative 1/3 because they're opposites and reciprocal. So we're going to look at some examples. So for parallel lines, we're going to do one example. You can either choose to count or you can actually use the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to use the counting method. So if I notice, it doesn't matter which point I go from, but I'm going to take A and I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm up a positive 4. And then I'm going to the right 1, 2, 3. So my slope is 4 over 3. Now I'm going to see if line CD is parallel. That would mean that they have to have the same slope. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So they both go up 4. And then over to 1, 2, 3 to the right. So my slope is 4/3. So because they have the same exact slope, those lines are parallel. Now with this example, with perpendicular lines, you need to have the slope to be opposite and reciprocal. So one has to be positive, one has to be negative, and then they have to be the reciprocal. So I'm going to start at A and find out what the slope of AB is. So we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So because we're going up, it's positive 6. Over to the right, 1, 2. So it's positive 2. So if I write my slope, I have 6 over 2, which is really standing for 3. So for my slope to be a perpendicular line, so line CD, it must have a slope of the reciprocal of 3 over 1, which is really 1 over 3. And because this one's positive, the other one has to be negative. So it's negative 1/3. So let's see if we get that answer. So if I go from C to D, if I go down 1, it's a negative 1. And if I go to the right 1, 2, 3, my slope is negative 1 over 3, which would mean that this is that A and B are and C and D are perpendicular. Now with slopes, dealing with x and y graphs, we have an x equals graph, 2x equals graph, which if they are both x equal graphs or y equal graphs, they will be parallel. So in this case, x equals 2, the slope for this one is always going to be undefined. For this slope, x equals negative 1, it's always going to be undefined, and they are both going to be vertical lines. So I have x equals 2, so I'm going to go up 2, and this means that all values of x are 2. So if you look, it's 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. They both have an x value of 2. And I want to make sure this is x at negative 1. So it's a vertical line. So if you notice, they are both parallel. Now with this one, you're going to have a slope of 0 because it's a y equals graph. And this one, you're going to have a slope of undefined. One is going to be a horizontal line, which is the y equals 4. So I'm going to go where y equals 4. And I'm going to draw a cross because all of these points on this line are going to have the value of 4 as its y. So we got 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4. And then if it's an x equals 5, we're going to go to where all of the x values are 5. If you notice, they are perpendicular lines.